Well, today we've got a special treat. We've got two Bulletproof coaches. And coaches, I mean, you guys have started from the bottom and now you're here. I'm just kidding. You started as masterminders, and now you became multi-year masterminders, and so now you're kind of Bulletproof coaches for this was the first year, right, guys?
Yeah,
this is the first year.
So I want to introduce real quick. So we have Kris Alpers. He's coming from Scottsdale area, and Dr. David Amador. If you don't know him, you soon will, because he'll have most of the conversation today, I'm sure, in terms of his speech.
Can you just help me out here, man? I didn't check in the mirror. Is my hair okay?
Your hair is always on point.
All right, I just want to make
sure. As a matter of fact, it's so much on point. It's always in the same position that I'm wondering, like, I'm going to tug on that to make sure it's not a toupee under there.
Dude, you'd be amazed.
And if it is, by the way, can you get me one too? Whatever your guy is, just hook me up.
Can you get me one of those? Yeah.
No,
just so you know,
Kris
is a doctor.
Is good hair.
Sorry, Kris is a doctor. You just said Kris Alpers, but he is a doctor. And fun fact, he's 7'11", right, Kris?
Yeah, just about.
Or 8'1". You're taller than Yao Ming. I know that.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, I didn't put a doctor in front of your name, Kris. I'm sorry. I gave David all the flowers.
Wait, but here's the crazy thing about Kris. Everybody in his family is tall. Everybody, even his father-in-law. I met his father-in-law one time, and I'm 6'4". And with the hair, I'm probably like 6'5".
You're not 6'4", David.
It's with the hair, man. Listen, I'm 6'3",
yeah.
all right? Don't take it
away.
You
identify as 6'4", brother.
I identify as 6'4", all right? But I meet Alpers one day, and I'm like...
Yeah, Kris, you don't show... I remember that, too. I remember seeing you on camera a bunch, and then in person, I was like, wait, this doesn't translate. Usually I can identify giants. I couldn't identify you as from the Zoom screen.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way it always is. No one would know you're 6'1" or 2", Peter. Like every time people meet you in person, there's a normal expectation that you're normal height.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Anyway, so here we are. And so guys, we're going to unpack kind of your journey, because I think I think your journey is very representative of kind of where you were. And then you kind of got off on where you were, where most of the industry was, and then kind of your entrepreneurial journey kind of to where you are now, and all the changes that have been made. So real quickly, Kris, why don't you start and just kind of unpack that for the audience?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So joined Mastermind 2022 with David, private practice, Scottsdale, Arizona. Kind of reached the point of kind of like beating my head against the, the pavement. Just felt stuck. Wasn't really feeling fulfilled after owning the practice for a couple of years coming out of COVID. Was able to join Mastermind. I never attended a summit. I just listened to your guys' pod. So,
really,
started listening to it. Was really getting into it. I felt like I needed help. And then we hopped on Mastermind. And since then it's just been, it's been a pretty amazing journey. Wouldn't really be able to explain like starting where I am now, but numbers, can go into a lot of that, but just like personal fulfillment, growth, going from a practice of essentially 0% entrepreneurial profit, where Craig, talks about like in a way you might be better being an associate, to, building the business, knowing where you're going, and ultimately getting a lot of fulfillment and enjoyment out of what we're doing.
Perfect.
Can I ask a quick question, Kris? So let's go back to, first of all, I didn't know that you never went to a summit, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Where were you? Everybody says like lack of fulfillment, but that means something so different. And I think Peter, with those statistics you read on the last podcast, is starting to see like, holy shit, this is not just a small snapshot into dentistry, but 44 or 48% of people are feeling this burnout. But I think that's a wastebasket category. So can you just go into what you were feeling then? Like give us hard examples of what was going on, what were you feeling?
Yeah, that's a good question, Craig. So basically before joining Mastermind, I'd owned the practice for maybe three years or so, came out of COVID, 2 little kids. I did a ton of clinical CE. That was kind of the path we go, just trying to advance with that, study clubs, but really wasn't getting a lot of enjoyment or, kind of the satisfaction of the practice. The practice was kind of owning me. Didn't really have a great direction, and going from just being clinically minded trying to advance there, feeling stuck, to really kind of flipping it on its
Kris,
head.
did you feel that, and we talk about this a lot on the pod, and did you feel, all right, I feel a little stuck, so the antidote might be this CE, this CE, this CE, right? Meaning was that the logic that transpired with you?
Yeah, I mean, 100% trying to elevate clinical, clinical CEs almost can be an escape in a little bit, we're stuck. So let's elevate this, let's elevate that. But that really wasn't what was making me tick. So come full circle now, it's like, I'm very passionate about, what we're doing in Bulletproof, the Mastermind, the business, coaching, developing, getting others to elevate. And that's where we're at now.
Good.
So
good
when did it start to turn the corner for you? So, and also I just want to ask you, like, so 1 to 10, 10 being like, 2022, you're 3 years in, 10 being like, holy, shit, what did I get myself into? I can't do this. I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm like in a really bad place. And 1 being like, I'm crushing it. Where were you in 22? Can you remember?
I feel like you inverted that scale weirdly.
Okay, sorry. So 10 being, well, whatever. We go with it. 10 being like, this is the worst possible.
Depending on the scale, 1 or 10 being good or bad, it was bad.
Okay.
I wasn't happy, really, really was in a bad place kind of mentally, and just about the business, about the career, that's where
about your outlook even, right? You thought like, I'm guessing, when you envisioned your life, you're like, I don't see anything changing, right? Kind of thing, maybe. I don't know. Okay.
Feel stuck.
Stuck. Yeah. And that's, and Craig, back to your comment about the last podcast that we kind of followed up with that addendum podcast after I did some research, because I was blown away. And, it's more endemic of dentistry than I gave it credit for, quite honestly. Right. I mean, I always hear, especially in Mastermind, guys, we hear of everyone's isolated stories, even mine I talk about, right? In 2015, David, you've heard it. You've heard me.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of break down in tears when we were in Cabo.
Which I was shocked, by the way, man.
Right. But I mean, everyone has
Bulletproof. So I was
I thought I was an outlier, right? I didn't know it was as much that meaning for purpose, that longing for purpose, rather, that I feel stuck, was so endemic to dentistry. So Craig, thank you for making me kind of double click on that. David, I'm going to cap you. You only have 5 minutes. David has the gift, like Craig, he has the gift of gab.
I'm going to have to click it right here and run it through.
All right. So talk to us. Give us the same kind of rundown of just like Kris did.
So it was a little bit different than Kris. Same thing. I was like up against the wall, already starting to get burnt out, and just had to pop the practice. Maybe within about a year we were in, and I was at that point of buyer's remorse. So you start talking about where was I on the scale of like 1 to 10? I was on the bottom of it, because all of a sudden I went from being a really profitable associate. I was doing just implants and surgery in one office 1 day a week, killing it there, and then doing family general dentistry with some aesthetics in other offices. Was I maxing my capability as an associate? No, I wasn't. I was very comfortable.
So you were moonlighting before you bought a practice. You were kind of moonlighting at different offices.
Yeah, I was in 2 offices. So I had taken over one office, just doing all the surgeries in it. And that was an almost $1 million and 1 day a week, a year, doing surgery, just doing all the implants. And we wasn't even doing all on X, just slinging singles. And anytime they need it, I got it. I'm screwing it. I got it. And then in the other office, I was doing family dentistry, which I love, just talking to people all the time. Moving on from there, we decided, when everybody was running in 2020, I was like, this is the time to buy. Anything I've ever written in a book, when people are running from the market, running from everything, freaking out, it's time to buy. So
you're talking about COVID. So when people freaked
COVID.
out and I always say when people get scared, they drop things. And so they dropped a practice into your lap, essentially, right?
Yeah. So I had about 12 practices that we were looking at, and we ended up with this one. And it was really a 1-doc office, and there was just a lot of work that was in it. And all of a sudden I found myself not really enjoying dentistry anymore. And I, with my wife,
after ownership,
yeah. Because all of a sudden I read E-Myth, and E-Myth was such a good book, because it really put the perspective is that I bought a job. I thought I was buying a business that I could then have more liberty. All of a sudden I'm working 7 days a week, trying to figure things out for the front, figure out different positions in which I'd never put a hat on. I think I was at that point now with 5 study clubs. You know what? I'll get with my fellow peers and I'll get some guidance there.
Wait. Let's unpack that. So you started with 1 and then you went, and that didn't fix it. So then you went to 2. Is this how it went?
Yeah. And I
so
started
you
going
joined
to more and
5
more
study clubs.
It was almost like 5 study clubs at one time. I was
like a heroin addict.
Yeah, no. And I was just like, and it just became more dentistry, like take another CE or this and that. But I'm like, wait. And we'd be in the study club and I would present some of them. I'd be like, we should talk about business now and team. And how are you building team? How are you multiplying your team members and getting the max out of them, but while you're building culture?
The problem is no one's defined those terms like business. So like I remember a conversation we had with these clinical friends of ours. They came to our Nashville summit. And I said, business is stressful. And this guy actually said to me, my business does not stress me out at all. I said, well, you don't have a business. The only person that you're leveraging is yourself.
Yeah.
Your production is the business. So yes, if you want to scale your business and grow your production through the hands and skill sets of other people, that's difficult to do. That's a very difficult endeavor. I just want to direct you to something, David, and I want you to talk about this. I think the biggest effect, just knowing your story and I just for the audience to know, I've known David for years before Bulletproof. I always knew him. I knew the doctor he worked with. I knew he was an iconic producer. And I had told or I had recommended rather to the person who had hired David, like, hey, you should really make him a partner because this guy is going places. And if you don't make him a partner, he's likely to go out and do his own thing. Mm-hmm. To which that doctor, as I recall, and again, my recollection may fail me, but it was like, well, it's the diminishing pie theory. I worked so hard. Why do I want to give up, all the things I built? And I'm like, okay, this is not going to work. And so that's your full story. But I want to talk about when you're talking about burnout, Kris and David, I know the story and I'd love for the audience to hear it. It's not just you that suffers, but like, talk about what was going on in your personal relationship with a loving wife that's like hitching her wagon to this entrepreneurial wrecking ball who wants to charge out and do everything. And she's trying to be a loving wife and try to support you in that. You have children, and talk about that family dynamic if you don't mind.
So it's crazy. You don't think about this when you start thinking about Mastermind and business and all this stuff. Was the turmoil that I was going through was separating me from a new family. Like, what I mean, a new family. I had a newborn. My wife is my partner in the practice. She's the other doctor. She's the associate in the office. Literally full time. We dropped all of our other gigs. We're here working together, and I'm just burning wheels. Everything I'm bringing here, I'm bringing home, and without realizing it, you're bringing out all this stress, and you're never letting it go. And where is it going? Without a why and without a navigational, compass of where your due north is, you start breaking down and you start being, insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. So started putting a lot of tear between me and my wife, which then would result into the issues in the office that were being brought on because of the lack of clarity and then the overworking. So then it's just more breakdown on itself as well, which then leads to family issues. And that was the biggest thing. Was like, if anything, I bought a practice to have more freedom to be with a family. I didn't buy a practice to live to work, but to work to live, right? To enjoy. So I would say one of the biggest things with Bulletproof helped out with, because I was just like Kris, listened to the podcast, and then finally went to, I think you guys had it in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. In
Nashville, yeah. And then we went to there, and then me and my wife went, and we were like, yo, yeah, you know what? I think this is where I should park my car. I think this is something here that we could really grow. There's a lot of like-minded people. And when everything is good, you're not really looking for a solution. It's when things start going backwards, you're like, whoa, there's way too many holes in this. We need to figure out how to plug the leaks and start moving forward.
Yeah, I just remember. I want to add to it. I'm going to out you. So, do I have permission to be fully transparent?
I'm always transparent, so it's all good.
Okay, good. So I'm going to out you. So it's so here we are. This is typical, and I want to highlight this story because I think we're speaking to a lot of people in the audience. You're an entrepreneur. It could be the husband or the wife, and the spouse is in the business with you, and I see this so many times when we ask what you wanted, and what she wanted. And we had to get to this point because y'all are partners in life and in business. You want 30 ops and a double-digit million top line. What she really wants is to be there with the kids at 2:30 p.m. every day. Those are mutually inconsistent if you're truly going to be actual business partners. Like the most important thing when you sign up for a partnership, a business partnership, is you want to pair with people who want the same thing as you. And we don't often do that. We just kind of like people and we get along with them. So like, let's just go do this together. But there was a lack of alignment for you and your wife. And I remember the day it was in Cabo that your wife was, she's going to probably kill me for this, but I don't care because other people need to hear it. She broke down in tears. And it was finally like, I just want to be there for my children. And women in dentistry have it incredibly hard. Women in business have it very hard. They are torn between the most important job of their life, which is being a mother, and the job that they trained for and spent all this money for and being a dentist. So they have it even harder than we do. There's a lot of sex bias when you're a man and you're out there gunning and making money. Everybody's cheering us on. Everyone's cheering us on. But when you're a woman, female business owner, and you're out there and you're gunning, there's a lot of haters. Oh, what about the kids? Oh, nice to be raising your kids by a nanny. So you have to walk this fine line. If you don't work, you're a gold digger. And if you work too hard, you're a raging bitch. So they have this very small, like razor's edge they have to walk on. So your wife, I think for me, looking at you guys, I see such a difference now when I'm with your wife. She said, I'm going to let you go be that badass entrepreneur. And I'm going to leave every day by 3. And I remember it's like, okay, when are you going to leave by 3? January 1st. And I remember on January 1st, are you leaving at 3? And she was. And I don't think, does she still leave every day at that time?
Yeah. So it was leave at 4. She wanted to be in by 9, out by 4, and make sure everything's for the kids. So yeah, she is. Now the kids are in speech therapy for this. We're now part of our church on Wednesdays. So now it opened up. The kids are in gymnastics. So it's family time, the most crucial thing.
Yeah, but I could see a future for you, David, where you didn't learn this and it led to massive levels of disruption, not only in your personal life, but your business life.
And think of like how this breaks. Think about any business, because in reality, a marriage and a partner in a business is the same thing. So when business is split, it's usually because, the two people didn't have the same vision or the same why. So it could be even with an associate in an office. The same thing like why I left the other offices. They had different mindsets. So it would, the breakdown of the why and what's your overall goal is not just the main person, but who is the person that's backing them. And if it's a business, it's not just the main shareholder, but what about the partners? What's their overall goal? Because if not, where are we going with it?
Yeah, this is very common in dentistry, by the way. Spousal things. This is common. I see this all the time. Even in a current mastermind, it's just, it's literally wife wants to be loving. Your wife loves you very much, David. Everyone knows that. You can feel it. So you have this entrepreneur and your wife is just doing what she thinks is her marital obligation to support her wrecking ball entrepreneurial husband. But at the end of the day, it's costing so much energy. And what I get is, I've done this several times now. It's like, what do you want, husband or wife? Or what do you want, entrepreneur? What do you want, spouse? And compare notes. And yours were so blaringly different rather.
It was a bulldozer. It was just bulldozing everything.
Yeah. And now when we're on these calls with the office managers, I don't even see your wife anymore. Your wife, so I mean, I think that is the greatest
success.
Obviously. Yeah, that's for me, looking at you and what you've accomplished, that's the greatest success of all. I look at that. So sorry, I had to out that.
It's been an odyssey. It's definitely been a journey, but it's been a fun one. Definitely changed everything after. It's been a lot of work. That's the thing. You just like, you have to keep on. It's like reps, man. How do you get good? Like Kris used to play basketball. It was what? We were D1 in college?
Yeah, I played a year to be D1 and then Division 2.
There you go.
I think as an action point, if you're in a relationship and you have a dental relationship, meaning your spouse works in the practice, as a very minimal step, pause the podcast at the end of this, just get with your wife or get with your spouse and just say, hey, what do you see in 3 to 5 years? How many ops? How much work? You may be shocked to see one wants 30 ops and 45 hours of work, and the other one's like, I just want to be with the family, and the roles may be different, but as a very simple thing, just write it down and compare notes. But don't come up with it together, because if your spouse loves you, they're going to concede to your vision, and that's not fair.
So call me crazy. Me and her every year. got to use AI. Listen, I just use it for everything. Thanks to Pete. I'll literally, hey, write up how we can ask us. So this is what we want to do. X, Y, Z. Set up a bunch of questions for me and my wife to answer. I'm going to answer mine. She's going to answer hers. Let's put it together and set it up so that we could talk about it. Boom. She answers hers. I answer mine. We put it all together. Boom. We have a long conversation about it. Helps plan us and merge our mindsets for the year. And then we go back
creating alignment. So, I think, Greg, where you were tracking on this is that, especially as we're going into, as we look at kind of our mastermind curriculum right now, we're about to head into kind of the measurement or the KPIs of all the aforementioned things that happen in the Bulletproof pathway. And I think and I want to hear what you guys have to say about this. What attracted you to Bulletproof was probably very tactical, strategic. Oh, I want to go learn business, and I want to go learn marketing, and I want to learn culture. And what you got was a lot of fulfillment, I'm guessing, right? Meaning that your life categorically changed into being fulfilled. And I always say that the master KPI, it doesn't matter, how good your profit margin is, or what your net, or what your marketing expense, or what's your average production per patient, but it doesn't matter. None of that shit matters. If you're not happy, the master KPI is fulfillment. None of it matters if you're not happy, because it's not sustainable. It's just not sustainable, especially in dentistry. Now, especially now after learning all these statistics. So until you learn kind of what's going to make you tick, and I think, Craig, that's a great hack, is to kind of get alignment at home, get alignment in your business if you have a business partner, and and it's just interesting after doing this so long with you, Craig, that I see this time and time again. You used to make fun of the people who you come for the marketing, the Yell Pack kind of thing, which there's no Yell Packs anymore.
Hey, wait, hold on. That's exactly what I came for. I was like,
I know. And it's funny. Craig used to say that.
In Cabo, I was like, oh, yo, Pete, come on, dude. I need to get 100 patients.
Yeah, I remember the Cabo weekend was a transformational weekend, because we got to see, hey, this is all good. I really just need the 3 steps from marketing. And seeing your wife brought to tears that same, or maybe the second day, I'm like, dude, this is not what we need. We all think we need something. And I'm guilty of this as well. We are scientific people. We're doctors. We're trained in the medical process, deductive reasoning. We look at Pete and what he has, or Kris at what he has. I'm like, if I could just have that, that's going to make me happy.
It's a diagnosis problem.
And then what's the 3 easy steps? Because that's what we do. Acid etch, bond, light cure. Like, we would just want the cookbook. And I just see, because I maybe I just got more years. I see what this would have caused for you guys.
Oh yeah,
and everybody's happy. And I think it's this whole, like, Tony Robbins adage of not achieve to be happy, but happily achieving. And I see you in a sustainable portion of your life. And that's my wish for everybody that's listening to this. I think most of us have just hijacked someone else's vision. I want what Pete has. I want what, Dr. Jones has with 20 locations. And they're just not crafting a life. And I want everyone, my wish for everyone listening to this is to have a life that they love. And it's going to need iteration. It's going to need, try something on, just like trying on a jacket. It doesn't look good or feel good. You have to try something different. But you're not stuck.
And it's super doable, Craig. Even in the statistics we talked about, it's super doable in dentistry. And I think I see so many times people pull the EFIT card because they think it's not possible. Like,
and describe what the EFIT card is. Sale.
What?
EFIT card is sale.
Selling.
Yeah.
Sale or quit.
Or quit.
Or start taking, who knows? Start medicating. I don't know. Based on what we read.
Yeah, the EFIT card is real.
It's just giving up on that scenario because you're like, oh, this doesn't work, right? I'm in 5 study clubs. It's still not working. I took all this.
I've tried everything.
It's still not working. So I'm out.
I literally
part
tried
of that
everything.
is like, in Spanish, there's a saying. It's like, dime con quién andas, yo te diré quién eres. Tell me who you're with, I'll tell you who you are. So if you're surrounding yourself by people that are only thinking about doing more dentistry as the success, and that's it. Oh, don't worry about systems. Don't worry about team training. Don't worry about.
You just said that in English, by the way.
Yeah.
Because Spanish.
Yeah, it's because like there's an old saying like, show me who you're with and I'll show you your future.
Because my grandmother used to say it all the time in Spanish. So it's like, it's like embedded in the back of my head. So I always have to say it that way. But, if you're not around those that have done it, and
That was
have
like a scene
some
from the
form
Three
of
Amigos,
connection.
by the way.
That was a what?
That was a scene from the Three Amigos.
From the
Remember?
Three
Like, it
Amigos.
just felt so like, and we conquer the village, and we rape the horses. And like,
Gracias to Bulletproof, we were able to do so much. You see this place right here? I did it all because of you guys.
So what would you say, David, to the person that's thinking like, you know, I need the Yelp hack. I'm thinking about getting involved in a group. What would you say to that person? What would you guide them to?
Dude, strap up. Let's get to work. Because at the end of the day, you're thinking so, it's one thing that needs to be fixed. All of a sudden, it's going to open up a whole new world. It's so many different things that are going on that you never even looked at. You never even assumed were an issue. And it's not an issue.
You didn't know you didn't know it.
Exactly.
You didn't know it.
You know, you only know what you see and you only see what you know. And the moment you open that door, you can't stop unseeing it. And it's not that you failed. It's that every business, and I love this. One of our members once said, every business goes through plateaus. The only way to break through that is you need to get to the next group that has already broken that plateau. So like joining EO this year, Entrepreneurial organization, my goal is to keep on going through that to get to YPO down the road that another friend told me about within this same group right here. And the whole idea is to see other things and how much can I see? Because before I was joining all these different clubs and all I could see is how to do really good implants. I do a lot of implants, but I wasn't seeing how to empower my team and how to stop thinking about the schedule and have my team be able to want to manage the schedule. So we're hitting our goals every single day. So I would definitely say,
looking back to Cabo, neither you or I knew what we were signing up for.
Yeah, without a doubt. That's the thing. We didn't know what we were getting into.
What
it was just more CE, huh?
Yeah. So it's almost like you said F it and rolled the dice, which is really a problem for, you know, the value that we're bringing. Cause like you didn't know what you needed. So,
exactly.
You know, and I see a lot of our community, I talk to them like, hey, do you know anything that could help me in my business? I'm like, yeah, I could help you. Like, yeah, but my accountant said, you know, that I really just need this or that. I'm like, does your accountant run a successful business? Does your accountant have business strategy? No, he just works in his mom's basement. I'm like, okay, well then why are you taking advice from people who haven't done it? And I don't want to say this egoically, but I'm passionate about wanting to help more people. And I just think when you point to what Peter said with 44% feeling burnt out, 16% medicated, I know this works. We've seen it with 100 people. So I just wonder, I'm trying to get to the root cause of what we could tell the person that needs to grow and doesn't know, thinks they need the Yelp hack. I want to just speak to that person.
Me and Kris talk about this all the time. The difference of, every dentist, like we have it in the mastermind all the time. We're all dentists. We learn how to be, I call it basically engineers, of biological engineers. That's what we know. None of us ever learned anything business. Yep. We think that we bought a business or we have a PA after our DDS that all of a sudden we know business. And that's what we bring in here. It's not just, there are other masterminds that just give you I
don't think that, David, I want to jump in on that too, because everyone belly aches. It's like this age old thing about we don't learn any business in dental school. Right. And honestly, we'd have someone come in that would talk about business periodically, but I don't think that's ever going to change. Because there's not the bandwidth for discussing, there's not the bandwidth in your clinical. And I just think that it's not going to change. And so you have to go seeking postgraduate education, right? Like the end of dental school is not your, the end of your bit. It's the beginning of your education, really, from a dental standpoint, right? The license just gives you the license to say, okay, I'm ready to go. And now you can go do business or implants or whatever, but it's not like I've arrived. Unfortunately, I thought when I got out of school, I was like, all right, let's go. It's all I ever need. And I was like, oh shit, I got a lot more to learn,
Without a doubt. So, and that's the thing. Most dentists, they come out of dental school and they think that they're ready to do it all. They've learned it all. They've got enough. Well, I could have my own business. But they didn't learn how to have their own business. They didn't learn anything of business in school because they didn't go to school for that. They didn't get an MBA. So part of the time they're all stuck. They're figuring out, hey, how can I just drill more? Is this insurance? What's it? It's all feel. Instead of learning how, hey, what lever do I need to pull to maximize our overall profitability or whatever end goal is. It's what me and Kris talk about all the time. It's also the beauty of the mastermind is having a group where you can communicate amongst each other and then help each other grow. We're always texting problems and breaking down different ideas.
Yeah, y'all are for sure. I see the power of banter. Community. Kris, what say you?
Yeah, I mean, just looking back, we all go heavy clinical, and what Craig was talking about, we join Mastermind looking for something to kind of elevate, I think, like bottom line, top line. But what we got in return was a lot of fulfillment. The community of Bulletproof Mastermind, it's like we still go through a ton of personal stuff, a ton of challenges. I don't think those go away, but our outlook, how to handle them, how to not be on an island ourselves, is really the thing that you can't necessarily quantify. Like, yes, business is elevated, numbers go up, but just like Craig and David were talking about, when you're getting burnt out and you're a mess at work, you're not the best leader for your team. You're not the best husband. You're not the best father. So it's like it comes full circle. And Pete, you shared going through it in Cabo, and that's where I think David and I both were. So seeing somebody that we look up to going through the same thing, it starts to peel it back.
Yeah, but here's the cool part, right? Just like what we do to our patients, I think the best dentists give their patients hope, no matter where you are, right? You don't say, where have you been for the past 15 years? What are you doing? How did this happen? You're just hopeful, like, we got you, we'll fix it. And I think that is the message, I think, Craig, that you would like to proclaim is like, we've all been there. Don't be isolated. Get in a group that can support you. And then if you're not fulfilled, find it, because it's there. It's just not probably what was prescribed to you by the study club or the DSO vision or the entrepreneur. Find the authentic thing. I have an interesting comment. Actually, when we were in our last retreat, Blake, who is he's in our mastermind now. He's first year. He's right out of school. And I remember he came up and he was like, dude, this is like a dental MBA. And I was like, it 100% is. And interestingly enough, my dad actually 2 days ago, I was talking to him and he listens to the pod and he has his MBA and he goes, like, this is stuff that even I wouldn't have thought of.
Who was this? Sorry, bud.
My dad said to me, he's like, dude, he said, I have my MBA and the stuff that you guys talk about. He goes, I guess that's where real life comes into play about, like, running an MBA, a real life MBA, a real life dental MBA.
We just got a very costly MBA, Peter. Stomach lining and dollars and mistakes. But
we didn't give up either, Craig, meaning that we got our ass kicked and got back. I was like, damn, thank you, sir. Can I have another? And then, you would find that. And because of you, look, I've known you for 10 years. I got to say that, like, having that support, just like David and Kris now text each other and have dialogue and bounce things off of each other, and they genuinely and authentically want each other to win. You and I've done that, right? And so I think that is my thing, is find someone, and it's probably, unfortunately, I hate to say it, it's probably not in your study club, because you are a direct competition.
And by the way, it's not in your general business club either. So in the beginning of dentistry, there's so much dental specific business you have to learn. Once you've figured out all the dental specific stuff, like your hygiene reappointment rate, hygiene compensation, once you understand dentistry and you elevate your business to a place where it can make money without you, then is the time for EO and those other types of YPO type things. There's so much dental specific stuff that I don't want you going to like a Vistage or something like that right off the bat, because they won't understand. So I think one of the things I just want to say real quick is that I think we all do this at a certain level because we're speaking to our prior selves. Like, when I'm speaking, I'm imagining my 35 or 40-year-old self getting his ass kicked, feeling hopeless, feeling like, why is it so hard for me? And I don't know what was wrong with me. I think it was ego, but I couldn't see I couldn't be told what I needed to know. I had to, at some point, like, walk into a couple walls. But what I would love to say is, if you're walking into walls, maybe just walk into 2, bloody your nose a little bit, but don't walk into 15 like Peter and I did. Don't keep walking to the same wall, because it got really dark for Pete, really, really dark. And it was finally like, oh shit. It was like sick and tired of being sick and tired. It was like that alcoholic story, or me. It got so dark. why don't you do it sooner? Why don't you do it like you're getting bruised? You tried a couple things. Maybe you've been at it for a year or a year and a half or two. That's when you can learn. And that's when the knowledge can pay the biggest dividend. If you know if you're like my buddy Stefan, great. He's in the mastermind 3 years in a row, but he's my age. So it's awesome. But imagine getting this knowledge when you're 32, or 29, like Blake. It's just the utility of the life of the knowledge. Once you know better, you can take it so much further. So I guess I'm just really speaking.
What were the inflection points, Kris? What was your inflection point from all the aforementioned things? Was there one thing that you all of a sudden were like, the lights came on in your past? And I can come back to you. I know David is probably ready to answer. So
yeah, no, I better get something in before David. You see, he's got his hands ready.
Yeah, you're the guest listener.
I'm going.
Yeah, no. What the inflection point was, I hopped on a call with Craig. My son was like 2 weeks old, so we just had a newborn, and Craig pushed on vision and taking the time to craft like what you want it to look like, and then peeling it back. The next step was Cabo. I sat across the room from David. Him and I are very different, and we both thought each other were crazy, in that meeting. But it's just like peeling it back, seeing what's exposed, digging like what you want it to look like, and then just going after it, right? Because we start getting the content.
So it was a retreat, essentially, meaning it was immersion in something like a retreat that you said, okay, my future is crystal clear, kind of thing.
Right. At least start to try to do something different, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Map out what you want it to be like, and then just, start putting in the work, going after it.
David.
Dude, for me, it was the why as well. Like sitting there, I think my first year I was like, I was still looking for that Yelp. And then Cabo really opened my eyes. I was still like, I remember sitting there and Cabo like, Pete, come on, just give me the answer. And then we broke down the why, and that really helped. And then Kris went through some personal stuff that happened that first year, and he put a lot of work into it. And it was at the end of that first year, I was like, man, if he was able to do this by having the right people around him, help him set things up and not have to worry, we all worry, but still be able to do the things that he was able to do with his family and stuff like that, then I need to put I gotta tighten up my shoes, and I gotta start working.
So I want to comment on this for a second, because we always come full circle to this vision, and I just want to clarify something that the Yelp hacks and the AI tricks that I teach and all this stuff is super important, but it's not until Craig gets a hold of you, kind of thing, right? So it's like he gets this clarity on the path, and then I can come in later and be like, okay, do these 3 things, implement this technology, do, right? But like, if you invert that, it causes more problems. And we learned that actually in our earliest masterminds, believe it or not. We learned that that's not a good way to be. So I don't want to discredit the tactical, because we all know that is the engine for the growth, right? The vision is the thing that gets you clarity and it gets your hair on fire. But the tactical and these things that we teach from a business aspect, the enrolling and the clinical and the retention and the recapturing and the referral, all these things we teach in a tactical standpoint is the thing that gives you positive data points, right? In this feedback loop of like, holy shit, that works. Holy shit, that works. And then and as you guys, you're both shaking your head. Like you're like, it gets your hair on fire, because now you're clear in your alignment, and now you're tactically deploying. Am I accurate with this?
Well, I'll give you an example. Let's talk about that Yelp hack we were talking about. So remember,
there are no Yelp hacks anymore. Yelp
exactly.
stinks.
There is no.
Yelp sucks. I wish they would go away.
It's a joke. It's just a reference. So I won't say any company or anything like that, but this is I think it was 2023. I told Pete what was going on, and we're at a retreat. And we're sitting down in a circle, and I'm like, dude, I'm getting 70 new patients, but it's just garbage. And that was before the why. And it's like, we were dropping about 6K just in this one company. And it was like, we'll guarantee you XYZ patients, and we'll bring down
6K in marketing, David?
Yeah. It was like, we'll send a cost acquisition, just give us free range of how we do it, and send us a bunch of stuff. We did it. It was free. I mean, we had people coming off the streets, coming into the office that were just like, spending so much time and so much different things. But what was my why? What are we trying to build here? Are we just trying to build, free, just come in and just bill insurance? Or are we trying to help patients? So once we did that, we turned everything off. Now we're right back up to that, but we have an 80% retention new patient. So
right, and your marketing, because you took ownership of a lot of that through things you learned. I've seen this.
Yep.
As opposed to being like, hey, here's $6,000, make it happen. You took ownership, and now you're very strategic. You do videos, you do very customized, custom audience things. Like you know, you're laser specific with what you want, attracting the avatar.
Instead of just like being, using a reference, instead of having birdshot and just shooting at something, I'm now laser focused on what it is, because it's all based back to what's our goal. What's our end goal? What do we see when I'm visioning this office? What type of patients are coming here? And what is the community saying about us? And that took us from when we started Bulletproof, we had only 300 reviews. We're just about on the precipice to break 1,000. And those aren't, and automated reviews doesn't really work anymore. So it's like direct patients.
Wait. What do you mean? The software? You can't just buy the software and let it work?
That was great when you were the OG using it, like just started off. Just now, man, everybody and their mother has it, and you know what? Nobody looks at it
so people delete those text messages.
And when we first turned it on back in the day, we'd get. Now, if it's not a physical conversation, the other reviews are not going to go up. So right now, this month we are at 22.
It's almost like a 3 R's kind of thing. It sounds like something I was
you just had it not that long
I've been beating the damn streets with. My God,
almost,
dude. That's the key, man. Right now, we just broke 20 for this month, and the goal is to hit that 1,000 and keep going.
You and I had a declaration on a mastermind call, and you're like, "I'm going to deploy this," and wasn't that you? Now, okay, yeah.
So I have a couple of things. Oh, actually, yeah, and a lot of things were deployed on that mastermind call, and I have a couple of things running right now.
All right,
recap, and all.
Anything you can talk about as a teaser, even.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things is we always talk about new patients, right? Well, me and Pete, and we talk about this in Mastermind. It's like, whoa, slow down. Why are we wasting all this money? Let's talk about the patients we have in the office, and let's close the back door, because that's part of the thing I love about Mastermind. It's like I read these books, and all of a sudden we're sitting here and we're talking about it, and it's all coming there, and everything's coming out there. So there's 3 parts of a business. There's the front end, so that's going to be your marketing. There's the financial aspect, everything you collect, and then the back is going to be the back door. We're running everything. So if we're doing all this money, you're spending all this money in marketing, maybe 10% of your overall yearly, because you're trying to scale so much. And you're bringing in a substantial amount of new patients, which is filling up a new hygiene schedule, but you're collecting, but now you're not rescheduling everybody. So
I blame our industry for this. And here's why. When you meet someone at a Hinman or a Spear or whatever, what question do they ask you? How many new patients do you get?
Yep.
What's your collections, right? And so these are the badges of honor that we think. And for some reason, our industry brainwashed it.
I just talked about 2 parts of the tree that I just talked about, right?
The holy grail is new patients, right? And it's not. It's curating and cultivating the things that you have already, right?
What about that patient that's in the office that in 1 month has referred over $30,000 in treatment to you with so many patients? That one patient that was in office, that was the best in-office marketing you could have done. Just sending them a hellogram or something like that, saying, "How you doing? It's great to see you. Love you." Something like that. But also, what's your recare rate? Like when patients come into the doctor's chair, are they walking out with do they have their hygiene schedule?
Let me ask you guys, Craig, I know you've been quiet. I'm sorry. What data do you 2 look at every day now? Like every day. So Kris, I'm going to start with you. Is there something that you get pushed to you, or like, what do you use to feel on top of the ball?
Yeah, a few key metrics, obviously production collections, you're talking about that, scheduled treatment. What David's talking about is, there's a ton of metrics out there, but what ones are actually going to be more predictive of what's coming? Like pre-appointment, that's really important for us. And then net growth, right? So David's talking about net growth, where it's not just about new patients. And Pete, you're saying it's industry, but even going through the process of hiring associates, that's one of the first questions they ask, because, if they might be coming from a DSO or high volume practice, it's like, how many at-bats do you need? But there's a lot of other layers to that.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. Like that's the thing we look in. Let's David, you guys are both speaking at Summit. What is the contents of what you're speaking?
It is actually really similar to what we're talking about right now. It's
just with more data. Huh?
More data, actually it's just more feel, we'll be there. The energy will be there. Also, Kris will be so tall. He'll be like,
you better stand far away from
the whole time.
Stand at the other side of the stage.
I'm going to stand on the other side. I'm going to be roaming and talking to people. That's just what
yes, you
roam
will.
And talk.
Yes, you will.
Like when I was in Serona, and they're because we use Sure Smile here, and they were like, you're really good with the audience because you just roam and you interact. You don't let people phase away. I'm like, it's my personality.
Well, it's engagement. That's the whole. We talk about marketing on social media, and people think it's a megaphone. It's actually engaging in things. Yeah. So that's the best kind of marketing. That's why people gravitate towards you, David. Craig, any comments on anything to follow up? I know we talked about kind of their journeys and things they've learned, and now they're speaking and coaching and all these things. Any comments for Summit?
Yeah, so I think look, this is just a data point of two individuals, Kris and David and their experiences, but the common thread that I get to see time and time again is we diagnose ourselves as dentists, and I see it so much when I need new patients. I need this, I need that, because our brain cannot handle uncertainty. We can't handle being lost and not knowing what a solution is. So your brain goes to work on a problem and it says, this is exactly what I need. And if these two data points are indicative of the greater audience that's listening here, what we can tell you is that what you don't know that you don't know is the problem. And it's that old story with the screw. Remember, FedEx had a conveyor belt and the conveyor belt stopped and they were losing like $500,000 an hour. And they hired a consultant, and the consultant turned one screw. And he gave him a bill of $10,000, and the invoice said, turning the screw $1, $9,000.
Well, no. He basically, the guy was Fred Smith, the CEO. So the story goes, was like,
it doesn't matter.
Shit, it just took you 30 seconds. Why would you charge me this? And he was like,
I knew a screw to turn. And that's the benefit of, the Bulletproof ecosystem. There's many dental consultants. I hate to think of us as dental consultants, but a lot of dental consultants have never operated a dental practice. They've never had a successful one. They may have operated one as a test case, but they've never been through all the iterations of challenge. And I think that it's doing our profession a disservice when those people are trying to help you, and they'll help you in their own prescriptive formula. This is what you should do, the cookbook. But dentistry is beautiful in that it's dynamic enough to accommodate exactly what you want to accomplish. So I know the visioneering is a scary, stupid word for a game plan, but get a game plan. Take a moment, figure out what you really want. If you're really confused, come to Summit. Summit is a great way because your team is there. Your team, when you don't know what you want, you can ask your team what they think you want or what are you into, and they will tell you. Most times you can see yourself better through the eyes of other people than you can through yourself. So bring your team to that Summit. It's not just learning, it's action. So you leave with a bunch of notes and an action plan of how to take the practice into something that serves you. Just because you're doing it a certain way it's not serving doesn't mean you have to stay on those rails. Your career is dynamic. I could look at every 5-year chunk of my career. I had a totally different career. I was always in dentistry, but it was always different. So I'm imploring you, register for Summit. There's still some tickets left. I know room blocks are still open at the Ritz-Carlton, August 8th and 9th.
I don't,
But come, bring it. I mean, I don't know if Kris or David, if you have anything to say about Summit, that would be.
Yeah. So I just want to piggyback on what you guys were talking about, Pete. When I went to our first Summit, me and Kris talked about it. We want to reciprocate when we went to our first Summit. Each of us went differently to different ones. There was stuff that we took home, but even if we didn't sign up for Mastermind, so much knowledge we were able to take home to implement for our team. So that first Summit I went to, because Mastermind didn't start for several months after, I had to wait for the year to finish. I had so much information just to start hitting the ground running, which wasn't like do more implants, or I had to wait for my implant case to get in. No, like starting today, I need to start focusing on this one.
You had a page of where the rubber meets the road, things to implement Monday. I can always judge the quality of a thing's education that I've gone to by the quantity of notes that I take in on my sheet. So I've gone to obviously tons of CE even before Bulletproof. And I'd always know my wife would go and be like, how was it? And I would kind of look and be like, it was okay. And then the ones that I had like a bunch of stuff to do, I was like, it was amazing. I had all these great ideas. And I think that, to your point, is, and they don't always come from stage, meaning they happen at the pool, they happen at the cocktail party, right? You get.
That's the thing. The stage starts the conversation,
right?
And then you start spiraling with other people. Then before, like, wait, the rubber really hits the road, because then you're in a like-minded group. And all of a sudden, like, some of the best conversations and mindsets never happen when we're the place we expected. Some of our best conversations that we've ever had were poolside with a drink in our hand, brainstorming the reason of life in dentistry, And all of a sudden, so that's one of the things me and Kris really are striving to do. It's not like go there and be like, hey, this is us. This guy's 7'5" and I got amazing hair. No, like, these are things that helped us drastically. And instead of going big broad storm, we're going to narrow it down, because each one of us have different offices.
Good.
He's fee for service. I'm a big PPO office. Two different worlds, yet we're still able to work together, and we're still growing, and we still have issues.
Every office
goes through this.
So does Craig. So do I.
I want to say one more thing too, real quick, and I know we got to wrap, but I think as business owners, we all fail on a similar issue. It's ROI. As a business owner, you're responsible to make sound investments that actually return on your investment. And if you're going to be a business owner, you have to make those purchases very wisely. I have a lot of friends that I know are very proud that they pay $1,500 for their tax planning, but their tax bills are $50,000 more than they should be. So you pay for good advice, you pay for sound advice. All my wealthy, highly successful, financially sound friends pay for advice. They are willing to spend X dollars if it can return them 5X. So the summit is a 10X guarantee, and it allows for that. So I know, like, I'm always going to throw people, that I know, but Elon had to spend like 50 grand bringing his whole team, or 25 grand or whatever. And it's so worth it. So if you're looking at the financial advice, rest assured, for Summit, we have that 10X guarantee. So if you don't produce more than 10 times what you spent, you will, in the first year following the summit, we will reimburse you the money. So literally, if you're a dental consultant, you're listening to our podcast, please do the same. That's a good value proposition. We're that confident. So that's my plea. I just want to see the summit go to 500 attendees. I know we're more than 3/4 of the way there, and we're still 4 or 5 months out. So it'll be the largest summit yet, and I want to see all those teams there, because I know the transformational power of what we do, and I'm just looking forward to seeing you all there.
Craig, to reinforce that, right before we click off, Dave, stop talking so much. From when we signed up to now, our overhead is 60%, because we're still scaling. When I first bought, you think about it, you buy practice, forget about it, overheads through the roof. And we are, to date, we are 35% up from when we first bought the practice.
Top line up. Yep.
Top line.
It's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. So to date.
And Peter's up double-digit percentages Q1 this year over last year, and so all right. So never stop growing.
Exactly. So it's like, it's not just like talk, because you hear about all these consultings and stuff like that. When you ask them, hey, so how'd you do last year, and what'd you do? Top line, bottom line. How much did you make over? What's your overhead? Oh no, we did the same. You just feel better, right?
All right, everybody, check it out. Bulletproofsummit.com. Craig is right. The room blocks, I think we had to extend the Saturday block a little bit because it's sold out. So I think there's still a few, literally, and this is no pitch. There's a smaller room block, I think at 400 rooms or something. So, or 300 rooms. So definitely go see if it's still available, and check out like I always say, we've put a lot of work into the landing page, and so it's a very robust.
Yeah, I will check it out, Peter. You're right. I'll check it out.
Pete, how do I get on the first page? How do I get like right there? Like, David, can I get like a good photo up on there?
You got to climb the hill a little more. If you want more
David
buddy.
In the future podcast, just comment below in the YouTube channel. Just comment more David, like more cowbell, and we'll make sure that David's a recurring guest if you love what he had to say.
All right, that was fun. That was fun.
At the summit, my whole team will be there. I would love to introduce anybody that has questions. By all means.
David. Thanks for being here, David and Kris. Kris,
Thanks,
you're
guys.
a great guest listener. We love you guys.